Hi, my name is Lisette Beraja, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been in practice for over 18 years, and I work with couples, individuals, families. I'm very involved in the collaborative divorce process, which is something very trendy and new, and I'm here to help families and individuals and couples in any which way possible.
What is a marriage counselor?
A marriage counselor is someone that you go to when you have difficulties in your marriage. You're pretty stuck in the marriage, in the relationship, and you just need maybe a neutral person to come in and sort of give you some ideas of, different things that you can do or things that maybe you used to do when you first met or got married and you're not doing anymore.
You've been doing this for how many years?
I would say I've been in practice for about maybe 18 years, a little bit over 18 years.
And as you've developed your practice, like anyone else, you hone your skills, you get really good at it. What have you learned that you feel has made you very adept at your craft?
I've learned that every individual, every family, every marriage is very unique. And a lot of the issues that they have stem from family of origin, from the patterns that come across from their families, their mother, their father, their grandparents, things that they've either seen, heard. Even genetics plays a very significant component in an individual's life. And so for me, stories and uniqueness are just amazing. Every family and every couple and every marriage I have to deal with in a different way. And it's them wanting that help that makes it just even more special. The fact that they even picked up the phone and called to see me or to get the help that they need is just fabulous.
How do you help two people who are not getting along without taking sides?
Helping people without taking sides can be a little bit difficult at first, but it's very important to hear the story or the reality of each of them. I can't just sit and hear one perspective without hearing the other because their realities and perspectives are very different. And sometimes I'll work together with the couple and sometimes I'll work with them individually.
Let me go back to something you mentioned at the very beginning. How much of getting along with your mate or spouse, how much does it have to do with what you learned from your mother and your father or your grandmother and your grandfather or whoever it is that was that person who raised you?
A lot of times when you're in a relationship, you will either marry or be with someone that is very similar to your mom or your dad or a significant figure, or totally opposite. So a lot of times I'll have couples come and say, that my husband has the characteristics of my mother, whom I didn't get along with. And so that for me is an aha moment, and then we talk about that and we process it. And it's interesting because you do end up marrying your mom or your dad, and you love that person. So you want to make the best at it. So once you realize that you have married your mom or your dad and you've had a bad relationship with your mom or your dad, it's a matter of, well, do I stay married with this person and try to resolve those issues that I had growing up as an adolescent or as a young adult, or do I not want to? And so it's very interesting, the correlation.
If you come from a dysfunctional family, will you have a very large tendency to then create a dysfunctional family?
The possibility of creating a dysfunctional family if you come from a dysfunctional family is very is a high possibility. But again, you can do two things. You can either continue that pattern of dysfunction or you can do the total opposite. And so if you've reached that moment in your life where you say, I don't want to be like my mom or my dad. I don't want to grow up in that dysfunction. I want to do something different. I want to get the help that I need. I want to do therapy, meditation, yoga, exercise, whatever it is, then you will accomplish that and you'll do that.
If you come from a loving family, conversely, will you tend to have a loving family?
I would say yes. I guess I could probably speak because of myself. I come from a very loving family and I was able to, continue that. At least I think so. But yes, coming from a loving family helps the possibility of you then creating your own loving family. But you never know, because if you end up, marrying someone who comes from a dysfunctional family, it can be very difficult. So at first, when you meet someone, it's so important, to know who you're dating, who their family are, what their values are. At first, everything may seem so beautiful, fine and dandy, and it's a honeymoon. But then you will find out that, they never got along with their family or with their siblings, or, they had issues growing up. And so that will definitely affect your new family, your nuclear family with this significant other.
What do you say to people who perceive it a weakness to go see a marriage counselor? May even say to themselves, once I take that step, that means my marriage is a failure. I'm a failure.
I highly encourage individuals to go and seek therapy as soon as they find that they have a problem or an issue. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. In many countries or many cultures, going to therapy is like drinking water. And here in America or the United States, sometimes it's not seen as something good. But once you come to therapy and you start it, it's like an aha moment. It's just you're alleviated. You feel that you needed to speak to that neutral person that isn't caught up in the problems of your family or of your individual life. And it's very helpful. It's very therapeutic.
Is it safe to say that most of us at one point would serve ourselves well by going to see a marriage counselor?
It's very important that people consider therapy, before they're going to end a relationship or a marriage. At least they've tried it. As a matter of fact, the attorneys in our community or in the practice are always to encourage their clients when they come to see people that are interested in getting a divorce. They ask them, or they should ask them, have you ever gone to marital counseling? And if they don't ask that question, that's an issue that really more lawyers should practice more of, and they should ask and encourage them to go, even if it's once, to try, and then if not, then they should pursue the divorce route.
What is a collaborative divorce?
A collaborative divorce is a process that helps marriages or couples reach an agreement of not going through the legal process or the litigious process that we see every day in our court system. Collaborative divorce is an amicable, peaceful way of getting a divorce by reaching an agreement where two individuals will sit in a room with their two attorneys that are collaboratively trained, and they also have a neutral mental health professional like myself and a neutral financial individual help them to reach an agreement and to get a divorce as quick as possible, as least costly as possible, and more so important, if they have children, they can create what we call a parenting plan to talk about, the issues of the children, which is amazing, versus the litigious route, which you go to court, you can take years or months before you get a hearing. The choices and the decisions of your children are not really yours. They're the courts at many times. But if you can sit in a room with a team of professionals with the same mind frame of reaching an agreement and getting a divorce in a peaceful way, by all means, it's an incredible process. No litigation, no subpoena, and no depositions.
So it's better.
It is much better. It's healthier. It's more affordable. It's an amazing process. And I highly encourage people that are contemplating a divorce, that they've tried to go to therapy and they have not been able to save their marriage, to consider the collaborative divorce.
Why is it especially better for children?
It's especially better for children because if we see that parents can sit in a room and agree and co-parent about what the future is going to look like for them and for their children, it's so much better. Judges will rule on things or will say things that really, and they don't even know your family or your children. So if parents can sit in a room and agree upon what the time sharing is going to look like, that already is powerful. And the children will know that mom and dad are in the process of a divorce. They are able to reach an agreement. They're going to share the time that they're going to spend with their children, whether it's holidays, birthdays, significant events, and it's just, amazing.
So is it binding?
Yes, it's binding. you finish the process, you sign the agreements, and then you go to court and you file your parenting plan, your marital settlement agreement, so it is binding.
So, what happens if in the middle the whole thing blows up? One of the lawyers becomes a jerk or starts screaming at the other one. It doesn't work, and everybody walks out, and it just doesn't work. Then what?
It's very important that the team, is well trained and is capable of communicating with their clients, and that everyone has the same goal in mind. The neutral mental health professional is there to make sure that everyone is in their best behavior. Not only do we focus on parenting plans, but we focus on making sure that all the professionals are getting along, and that the one professional is talking to the other client, in an amicable way. If the process falls apart because one attorney, is saying something that's not appropriate to a client, or just the process falls apart because the parties cannot reach an agreement, then the whole process falls apart.
If that happens, can you still then go? Do you still have the option of having a legal divorce?
If the process falls apart, you cannot use those professionals in the future. So the collaborative attorneys that were used in the collaborative process could not represent those individuals later on. They would have to then find other professionals to help them to reach an agreement. And most likely, it would probably be through the litigious process. So those professionals would no longer be able to represent the parties. The neutral mental health professional cannot be the neutral mental health professional anymore. The financial neutral cannot remain on the case either. Basically, you would just have to seek other professionals and start all over again.
As a marriage counselor, do you welcome this collaborative process? Do you like it? Do you think it's the answer to, not for everybody, I'm sure. Some cases are so far gone that may not work for them, but do you like this as a trend moving forward?
As a marriage counselor, my goal is always to save a marriage. And if I can't, the collaborative divorce process is fabulous. It's so good because it keeps the drama, it keeps the litigation, it keeps the issues, the problems at a minimum. And it's basically like mediating. The only difference is that you incorporate more professionals, which is someone like me, for example, that is a neutral mental health professional and a neutral financial. And that's the difference between mediation and the litigious route of a divorce.